You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody. Welcome to your Hot Options Report for Tuesday, August 12th. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are that you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees, whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades. Every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Again, the Hot Options Report brought to you by Public. Full disclosures in the podcast description. Let's see what's lighting up the tape today, shall we? Let's kick it off in the vol landscape as we are wont to do. And you know what? That inflation number seems like it drove a heck of a lot of paper across the board out there today. A VIX coming crashing back to earth, closing right around 14 3/4 and putting up a heck of a lot of paper in the process. Over 1.13 million contracts changing hands in VIX options today. That's against an ADV of only 712,000 contracts. So blowing the doors off out there. No surprise, the hot option in VIX today, almost exactly 50,000 of the 15 puts expiring next week on the 20th. Certainly an interesting looking strike when, again, VIX coming crashing back to earth. You like those puts? Listeners, look like they had an average price of about 15 cents out there today. Let's keep rolling out to SPY. Was it a hot day in SPY? Well, chances are if VIX was lighting it up, then SPY would follow suit, and that was the case. 8.5 million contracts changing hands in SPY today. That's against an ADV of a little bit shy of 8 million contracts, so fully 500,000 more than we expect this time of year. The hot option out there in SPY today, 466,000 of the 642 calls expiring today, of course, and if you paid less than 69 cents, and looks like the average price was about 38 cents, so not a bad do at the end of the day. SPY going out a little bit shy of 642.70 listeners. All right, to the S we go. Again, a hot day in the S, 3.96, just a hair under 4 million contracts. The ADV right around 3 3/4 million. The hot option today, 64.45 calls, going up 165,000 times for an average price right around $1.50. The S going out 64.45 and about 3/4. Either way, 64.45 calls. Your hot option out there in the S today, listeners, as we keep on rolling out to small caps, IWM. A very spicy day in small caps, listeners. 2.36 million. That's against an ADV of 1.35 million. So fully 1.01 million contracts additionally changing hands out there today. So this is a hot day in small caps. What was the hot option on a hot day? It was 105,000 of the 230 calls expiring on Friday. Got pretty close to that today, but not quite getting there. 226.81 is where small caps ended up going out today. Let's keep on rolling out to the Qs. The Qs coming in a little bit heavier than expected. 4.08 million contracts changing hands in the Qs. That's against an ADV of slightly under 4 million. The hot option in the Qs today, 198,000 of the 580 calls expiring today. We went out in the Qs, 580 and a nickel. So unfortunately, looks like an average price of about 23 cents. Not exactly a winner chicken dinner, but not a huge loser either at the end of the day. Let's keep rolling out to single names. Was it a hot day in single name equity options? The answer was it was pretty decent. 491,000 contracts on the tape. That's what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. I get you to our old pal Alphabet Class A. The hot option in Alphabet, 43,000 of the 205 calls. Again, with the, let's see if there are any exceptions in our list. Nope, everything in our top 10, all the hot options are expiring at the end of this week. Kind of par for the course in the options market these days. And it was 43,000 of the 205 calls expiring this week. For Alphabet, taking the top spot today. Alphabet closing right around 203 in the third. So they're looking pretty good, but they got a ways to go to get to that 205 strike. Amazon coming in at number 9, 579,000 contracts on the tape today. The hot option in the Amazonians today, 38,000 of the 225 calls. Got a little ways to go there. Amazon closing a little bit shy of 221.5 today. Number 8, it's the artist formerly known as Facebook. Yep, it's Meta. 609,000 contracts on the tape today. The hot option in Meta, 65, almost 66,000 of the par calls, the 800 calls. And they went out exactly $10 shy of that, 790 even today. Can they get 10 more bucks by the end of the week? I guess we'll find out. Stay tuned to the hot option report later in the week as we keep on rolling. To number 7, it's AMD, 667,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in AMD today, 72, almost 73,000 of the 175 calls, again, expiring at the end of the week. AMD going out pretty much right at that strike, 174.95. So looking decent there. They had an average price of about 2.25. So at that rate, it needs to run a little bit to pay those off. Number 6, it's Open. 672,000 contracts. Open clawing its way back pretty close to the 2.5 strike. 247 is where it went out today. The hot option, take a guess. 2 halves. Yep, 110,000 of those going up today for an average price of about 18 cents. So it needs to run a little bit to make those pay off. If you sold them, obviously, looking decent if the stock hangs out here or below throughout the rest of the week. I know a lot of people in our pro chat were talking about maybe selling some 2.5 covered calls. So if that's the case, probably don't mind if your stock gets called away. Number 5, it's Palantir. 693 on the tape today. The hot option in Palantir, 65,000 of the 190 calls. Palantir going out almost exactly $3 shy of that, 186.97 to be precise. So it's got a little ways to go to get there by the end of the week. Can it get the job done? We will find out as we keep on rolling to number 4, Intel. The CEO of Intel making a trip to Washington, hat in hand, perhaps cash in hand, to go see what he can do. Maybe get a little bit of that NVIDIA and Apple Washington, D.C. juice. Either way, Intel putting up nearly 1 million contracts today, 952,000 contracts on the tape for Intel today. The hot option out there, 68,000 of the 21 half calls. And those are looking pretty good. Looks like maybe they got what they wanted out of DC because Intel popping over $1 today, about $1.16 or nearly 6%, closing at 21.81 today. So a decent level for Intel, all things considered. You know, if you watch Intel, it's hot again, it's cold again. Today, apparently it's hot again. Coming in at number 4, nearly 1 million contracts. Number 3, it's our old friend, the Fruit Company, been on a tear since they went down to Washington, hat in hand as well. 1.12 million contracts on the tape for the Fruit Company, closing just shy, 35 cents shy of the 230 strike. And it was the 230 calls, surprise, surprise, that were the hot option in Apple today. 136,000 of those. Change in hands, average price right around 240 today. So if you're buying them, you got a little bit of room to run to pay that back. If you're selling them, you don't mind hanging out here for the rest of the week as we keep on rolling to number 2. Order has been restored. Tesla has returned to the number 2 spot. Nearly 2 million contracts today, though. Pretty hot day. 1.88 million contracts. Change in hands in Tesla. The hot option today, 122,000 of the 340 calls. Tesla going out 340.84. So those are looking pretty good. Then you see the average price was nearly $5.50. So from that perspective, not looking great. Tesla obviously needs to run to pay those off. If you sold them, you don't mind hanging out here or maybe dropping a little bit towards the end of the week, keeping some or all of that $5.50 that maybe you collected. That means the big dog, once again, NVIDIA, 2.36 million contracts on the tape today. The hot option in NVIDIA, nearly 193,000 of the 185 calls. They went up for an average price of right around $1.14 today. So if that's the case, need to kick it into gear a little bit for the end of the week. NVIDIA closing today, 183.10. Got to run a bit, obviously, to that 185 strike, and obviously a little bit farther to pay off that $1.14 if you did indeed buy those bad boys. And that's going to do it for your hot options report for Tuesday, August 12th. See you back here throughout the rest of the week with our usual array of content. And of course, see you back here tomorrow after the closing bell. Another great episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.